Good morning. I need to do some hip openers for myself, so I figured I'd record it so that you can have them too. So for starters, we stand on our feet about shoulder width apart, not too far forward or too far back. The keys for that is not on the balls of your feet and not on the heels of your feet. You just kind of find a middle ground. Same with left and right. Find a middle ground. Now you're centered. Let your knees bend slightly, so your tailbone tucks just barely, so you're kind of loose. Imagine your collarbone is a bowl rim, the rim of a bowl. You don't want to spill it out. Now you're upright. Have eggs in your armpits, not crushing them, but not so loose, just kind of there. Chin slightly tucked, the tip of your head erect. From there, just slightly twist your hips. Look in the direction you're spinning, but don't move your head. Let it naturally move when the spine gets to that area moving from the hip rotation. So this is the power generator of this movement. You can do something very basic like this, or as you get better at it. But this, of course, is me doing it for years. This comes very naturally. After you do that, about 9 times, 18 times, somewhere around there, come into some rotations. Don't fall over. You can do less, if less is where you need to be. I think I need to do less today, actually, than I normally do. I was walking all weekend. My hips are very tight from that. You can lean into the places that are a little tight, but don't do it in a way that causes sharp pain. So for example, I have a little bit of groin tightness here. As I come in this rotation here, I just slow it down a little bit so I can really move it with intention. After doing large hip circles, small hip circles, focusing on the sacrum moving. Like you're drawing little tiny circles with your tailbone, but also letting your hips be the controlling factor so you get a good sacral movement. They can be more ovals than circles if that's what comes naturally, but keep them small. At any point you want to, you can always rub the tailbone a little bit, rub the lower back a little bit. Another good opener movement are kidney breaths. And depending on where your back is, this might not feel good, and if that's the case, don't do them. But as you get more pliable, it is a great strengthening exercise for the lower back. If it's over tight though, if the lower back's over tight, then this one won't feel as good at the beginning. What you're doing here is you're breathing in and focusing energy towards your kidneys. As your tailbone comes back up towards your hands, then as you exhale, tuck your tailbone and imagine your kidneys are expanding outward. Moving down the body, of course we got knees, we can rotate. You know, if you're just focusing on lower back, this might not be as important. But in a way it is too. Try it out, see if it feels good. You might need something to balance on when you do this. But ankle rotations both ways. I suggest not doing the hop in the beginning. But it is fun once you get good at it. Again, shoulders as well. Both directions. Really focusing on the movement coming from the heart center. Because that's centered right around where all the muscles are that move it. That actually move the arms, these pieces. The up here. Not here. Not for this kind of movement anyway. Or this one. You can shake it out. Always good. I wouldn't suggest this advanced move in the beginning, but it's what my body wants to do right now, so I'm going to show it. 1 foot planted forward. These feet will move during the exercise to protect the knees, but it's a breath in while supporting the lower back. Exhale. I'd like to caveat that you shouldn't do any of these more advanced exercises in the beginning. They're just here as placeholders for when your body's actually feeling not inflamed. And even then, they might incite inflammation. But that just shows how much you need to open up. Rubbing the back, especially after intense stuff like that. Coming down for a little squat, touching the ground. Always good. From here, standing up, straightening, breathing into the belly. Rolling up gently. Exhale as you come up. Inhale, down. Really stretching out that lumbar. You don't have to start that lumbar stretch for the squat. I just happen to. It's two separate variants. Going down here and coming up is a different stretch than starting up here and going down. But you get the point. You can mix and match things however they seem to fit for you each day. Another variant of the lumbar stretch is usually good to do after you've done the leaning forward one. Stretching up. Exhaling, but again, allow the knees to move as they need to. The feet turning to protect the knees. Breathing in as you come up. Exhale. Light stretch, inhale. Feet rotating. Back down. Really if you're not ready for it. But just so you know, it does. Because it stretches the fascial line. Always come back to center a little bit before you switch the other direction. At least what I like to do. Another great opener, which you might not want to do in a room with people because it makes you look a little silly, is a combined emotional release technique with a spine technique, which makes sense because you're compressing all the inner organs with this one, which is squeezing stuff out. And seeing as you feel emotion here, it makes sense that stuff would be stored there. So releasing all of it at once. The reason it makes you seem silly is it's called, I call it personally, golden retriever, because you pant with your tongue out during it. So it starts with, and this is where you exhale all gray negative emotions that you don't want, frustration, anger, sadness right now, and you just turning the head forward just enough to feel a stretch in the lower back. You don't need to come all the way down. If this is good for you, it's good. But the point is, you know, mild contraction to pull, to stretch. You can bounce just slightly here, but not in an extreme way. And then inhale out. Gently, as you pant, you'll be pulling the shoulder blades back, stretching out this region. Hyper-oxygenating yourself in this way, so don't do it too much so you get lightheaded, but it's a good release. Going from frustrated emotion to obedient dog. Think of yourself as an obedient dog. It's practicing a shift in emotional pathways, which is practicing a shift in energetics between the body postures. Then inhale, full breath. Hold and lightly smile as you look openly upon the universe. Or close your eyes and enjoy the infinite expanse of your mind, while holding the shoulders slightly back and stretching out the chest. Then I should also say, don't do this one intensely. Maybe start with it more like you'll notice your emotions shift while you're in this place, more of a meditative, just like, okay. That's when you really let your emotions come out when you're going down. Let them spill out of you. Also a slight variant on that kneeling stretch I showed you earlier. You don't need to necessarily kneel to do it. You can just have one foot in front of the other, have your hands kind of high on the wall as much as your body will allow to kind of straighten your back naturally. Not to an intense degree that hurts you, but then just, again, it's just a thrusting motion. Like you might do with a kettlebell where you thrust. So what we're doing is we're opening up the hip. It's the opposite of sitting. So as you're up like this, supporting your upper body, you can just kind of like, you have to do this one leg at a time. You're just kind of rotating in to practice opening up this hip region here. Do whatever's comfortable. With any kind of static stretching, I like to consider my muscles to be a sponge, in the sense that just like when you clean a sponge, you wring it out, fill with fresh water, wring out again. Well, we're not going to wring it out intensely, but our muscles, as we stretch them, they're being squeezed and pushing out old crap, and as you relax them, it's creating a negative pressure, bringing fresh nutrients in, and doing that over and over again, you're cleaning out the sponge. And then of course you can stretch for length as well, which is more of an extended hold. But again, I don't like to do those to an extreme degree. I like to do little ones over time to allow the muscle to naturally adapt to an open posture while also being moved, so it doesn't feel weak at the end like it was just stretched out for an extended period of time or something. So I find movement to be key, because that's what the bodies we're trying to train to be able to do in stretching.
Sorry, my house is a bit of a mess and I can't stretch stuff back far enough to see my whole body when I do this, but the important part is the lower body. This is a hamstring stretch variant that not a lot of people know. You're putting your foot up on a 45-degree angle here, or some kind of upper surface. I use a log because it's perfect for it, but I mean, you can use an upside down cereal bowl so long as it's not going to slip on you, because it's round against the wall. But I mean, something that you can put your foot up on. Keep your legs straight here. What this is doing is it's stretching out the whole fascial line down here by having the foot up, and then you do the opposite of having your hips come forward like in those other stretches. You're actually pushing your tailbone back and out. And when it's backing out and your back is straight up, and then you just lean forward from the chest, what that's going to do is cause an intense stretch on your hamstring right at this juncture here, which is important because that's what's bent all the time when you're sitting. So what we're doing here is we're stretching out this fascial line, and then we're hiking the hips backward, putting the butt out. And what that does is stretch out this part of the fascial line because the butt's going that way, and this is all stretching this way, causing this to have basically be the center of both stretching sides. And then from there, you keep your back straight and you lean forward from the chest, causing all the stretch to be translated to right in this area, which is what is bent when you are sitting down. Now, a caveat to this is that you do not want to do this too much because you could get like hypermobility in the knee backwards, which is not great. You don't want to overdo this stretch. But if you have tight hamstring fibers from oversitting, it is ideal to stretch this out a little bit, focusing in this area.
Another hip stretch variant, it's just frog. You open up your hips as much as you naturally can. I mean, you don't have to do an intense version, you can have it a little bit closer, but then you're coming through and you're just, opening up the hip. The wider you go, obviously the more of a groin stretch you're getting in here, but this is opening up the hips in a fabulous way. That again, if you constantly just sit in a closed sitting posture at a computer all the time, these sections get tight, and your legs are usually together when you sit. Even if they're slightly spread, they're not getting that widespread effect. So doing the frog is also really beneficial.
Last but not least, this is, I don't know the English translation exactly, but it's a Thai stretch called the Ka. You're going to come up on your side here and come over, bring your foot back, and then laying onto your foot. You can have it pinned or to the side. It's going to vary the stretch slightly differently. And you're trying to have your foot laid down. Some people can literally put their knee on the ground and their back on the ground in this posture. Clearly I have tightness, so it's a stretch I do. It really helps open up the hips. Really important with this. Do not extend the leg from this position. Always roll and come out. You can totally pop your knee out if you don't. Again, just from the other side, so you can see it better with the foot placement. It's coming down. I like to do this variant, unless my ankle's feeling sore. I feel like it's a more extreme version of the posture, but this one is fine too. It will affect the back a little differently. This is kind of intense. Don't do it for extended periods in the beginning, but it's a great stretch for this region of the hip right here. Because a lot of the times the other stuff is just getting more in this region and up into the abdomen. This is really getting that side pieces. The front connections of the IT band are being hit really well right here.
So those are some basic openers. Pick and choose the ones you like. Definitely these rotation ones, these rotations, and the happy dog, golden retriever, whatever you want to call it, is going to allow you to open up the spine, stretching along the spine, and to some degree cleanse the inner organs a bit. Also check out the breathwork techniques that cleanse the inner organs. That's going to help with any tension patterns you have within the abdominals, which can also cause lower back pain. Have a good day.